Hello YouTube. Well, it's been a long time since I've made a video, um, and a lot has changed actually. I have a shop now, and today I also have this 2011 Ram 1500 that has front end noise. Um, Long story short, it needs a set of front wheel bearings, and we're gonna put some brakes on it while we're in there. But basically, the customer, as you're going down the road, heard a noise like a growling sound. The truck got here, and you jack it up and you shake on the tires and everything, and there was no looseness, no wobbliness in the bearings. I don't know how to describe that, but when you spun the wheel, you could hear the growliness of both front bearings. Of course, we took the caliper off to remove the brake pads from that equation. It still made the growling sound. This is only a two-wheel drive truck, so there's no four-wheel drive components up there to make any weird noise like that. The only thing that spins up there is the bearing. So that's what we're going to do today. This is a 2011 Ram. We're going to be putting some front hubs on it. And I want to take you guys with me. It's been a while since I made a video, so this may be a little bit shaky, and I apologize for that, but we're going to get it done. I've already started. I've already got jacked up. It's on jack stands, and I've got the front tires off of it. And where we're going to start is by getting these calipers off. I stuck it back on there just for the video. But before I take the caliper completely off, what I'm going to do is get in here with a pry bar and pry a little bit on these pistons to compress them a little bit, just a very, very little bit before I go ahead and loosen the caliper bolts, because that'll help the caliper slide off. So that's where we're starting. And we got the first one, now we're going to pry on the second one. And I can reach in here with my little pry bar and feel that the pad moves now. So that was our goal, was just get these loosened up a little bit so this caliper comes off easier, because as I put it back on, the brakes have been pumped back up. And you're not technically supposed to loosen them like that, I know, but I mean, it helps. And I've only moved it back a 1/16 of an inch at the most, just trying to get everything loose enough to start moving again. And I got these caliper bolts 14s, and I'm wrong about everything. 13s. I told you guys they were 13s. Jesus. I don't know how this is going to go with holding the camera and trying to loosen this nut bolt at the same time. So I'm just going to do it off camera. What you got for these calipers, I'll show you the bottom one. This is your slide pin, and the front of your slide pin goes a bolt. If you go to loosen this bolt and it spins, you can get another wrench and hold the slide pin back here. But we're just going to crack this loose on the top side, or I'm sorry, on the bottom side. This is the bottom one. We're going to take this one out. The caliper will then hinge up and push out the back. We don't have to loosen this top one here, because these slide pins in here move free inside the caliper bracket. So all we've got to do is get it broken free from here, so it will swing up and then push it out of there, and the whole pin will come out with this side. And then we'll find an appropriate place to hang our caliper so it's not hanging from the hose, because that is a terrible, terrible idea. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we have removed our caliper. Sure, I can talk. Exactly how I said we were going to do it. We loosened the bottom caliper bolt here, which is this little guy. It's a 13mm headed bolt. Turn the caliper up and push it off there. You'll notice this pin is still here, and that's what I mean. These pins are movable and they come out. This pin here has already been slid out with the caliper, which I set on top of the shock tower, or control arm. That's it. Next, this caliper bracket has to go, because we have to get the rotor off. And these caliper bracket bolts are what is this, 13/16 on this truck is what it looks like. So there's two of them. There's one here, and there's one here. And what I'm going to do is use my electric impact wrench because I have that luxury. If you don't have that luxury, you know, sometimes these get really tight, and a lot of times manufacturers will use Loctite, sometimes green Loctite on them. So what I would suggest doing is getting yourself a good breaker bar, heating up not the the caliper bracket part here that the bolt goes into, where the threads are going to be. Heat that up, get yourself a good breaker bar, break them loose that way, because if you're trying to do this with just a wrench or a regular sized ratchet, you're either going to break the ratchet, the wrench is going to slip off, you're going to hit your knuckles. Something is going to happen, it's going to suck, and you're not going to be happy. So if you don't have impact tools, heat breaker bar, and it should take care of you pretty good. But I do. So that is where we're going with that one. Oh, we got one. Of course, the socket fell off. Put that in our magnetic tray. We don't want to lose bolts. And two, which, yep, you can see on here they did use green Loctite on them, so I'm glad that I opted to use my impact tools. Get that out of the way, and now this caliper bracket should just come off of here, which it does. We'll set that aside, and we are looking good. Our one-handed. Alright, our rotor doesn't want to come off, but if you look, there's clips here, there's a clip here, there's a clip here. These are put on during assembly at the factory, so while this is going down the line, you know, this doesn't fall off and crack someone in the toe, and, you know, then OSHA's pissed. They are not actually necessary, so I'm going to pull them off with their pliers, and if they break, they break. I'm not worried about it. And then the rotor should slide off. However, I am going to need 2 hands to do that because I have to get into my toolbox. So, yeah, we're back. Alright, I got our little clips off. I got under there with needle nose pliers, and of course I broke both of them. But like I said, they're not necessary, so I'm not that worried about them. And now our rotor should be free, except it's stuck. And at this point, you're probably going to wonder what the hell. Well, what happens is you get a little bit of rust behind the hub face here, and they stick. So we're basically just going to whack on it with a giant hammer and hope that it comes off there. They usually do. Sometimes you got to use heat. Where we hit is important. Do not hit on the back side of the rotor on the braking surface if you plan on keeping this rotor, because you will warp the rotor, you will ruin the rotor. Where I'm going to hit, because these are good rotors and we're reusing them, I'm going to hit between the studs. Wrap on that with a hammer. I got a 3-pound sledge, and it should pop loose. I'm going to try to do this on camera. I may have to edit this part out from shaking this. Alright, I need 2 hands. As you can see with the camera in my hand, I don't have very good aim, so I'm not actually hitting in the area that needs to be hit. I'm missing completely. So that's the idea, though, is we're just going to wrap on it until it pops loose. Yep, if something changes, I'll call you. So of course I put the camera down, I hit it 1 time with the hammer, and it comes off the first time. Figures. You want to try and capture these vital moments for you guys. And of course it doesn't want to cooperate. Okay, but there it is. Here's our bearing hub, and I know you can't feel it, but when I feel this, I can feel it grinding in there. You might be able to hear the clicking. If I get real quiet, I'll put the camera real close. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but it clicks and it feels dry and it makes lots of noise. So they're going away. Both front ones do the exact same thing. So it is time. Oh hell, I need 2 hands again. All right, I'm back. So to get these off, it's actually fairly straightforward. If you turn the wheel on the back of your knuckle here, there's some bolts. If I can get the light right, there we go. See, 1, 2, and 3 bolts. That's what we're going after next. Let's figure out what size that those are and find a place to hang our light. Okay, so I forgot stuff. I never loosened those back bolts. As I went to, I saw the wire for the ABS sensor and remembered that I never removed the ABS sensor. When you buy these bearings new, they come with new wheel speed sensors, but you know, to be safe, just in case, sometimes aftermarket sensors, the computer doesn't like them. This one works fine. We're going to remove it. What it has is a single Allen-headed bolt. This is a 5mm Allen-headed driver, and when I went to stick it in there, it would not go all the way in because of brake dust and whatever else. So I had to use a plastic hammer to tap it in there all the way. Make sure that you have these in all the way. If you do not, it will round out the bolt. It will round out the bolt, for real. And then you will be pissed. So it got tapped in there all the way. I'm going to use my little electric impact to get it loose. And drop it on the floor promptly after that, because that is part of the procedure. I don't know if you know that. And boy, that is crusty in there. Yeah, it's moving though. These can be a turd. These can be a real turd to get out. We're gonna try. I have just a little tiny pry bar here, and find a place to get under it. I'm under the edge there, and I'm gonna pry, and she comes right out. Beautiful. And I don't know if you can see them on the camera, but there's little bits of metal on the, trying to get a better light, little bits of metal on the front of this. See on my finger, don't see how it's shiny? You can't really see it on camera. But I promise that they are there, which this goes directly into the bearing, so that's going to be bits of bearing. Alright, now I'm going to turn this back again, find the socket size. Alright, so I figured out the size for these. They are in 11/16, or no, I'm sorry, these are an 18mm. I don't know why I had 11/16 stuck in my head. They're an 18mm, and I've already gotten that one out. I cannot fit my large impact in here. So what I've done is I've taken my torch, just a MAPP gas torch, you can use propane too also, and I've heated the back side of these bolts where they come through on this bearing. And, well, I mean the one, I've done the one. What you do is you warm it up, and then I've taken a large breaker bar, and I broke it loose, and once it was broken loose, I could get in there with my small impact, or you know, a ratchet, and took it out pretty easily, and there it is, the big one there. I'm going to do the rest of the bolts the exact same way. There's only 3. I've already gotten 1 done. A little bit of heat, and then I broke it loose with the breaker bar, and then I'm going to use the little electric impact to take it out, but a handheld ratchet would work just fine, and once all 3 of them are out, I will get back to you. So this is going to be the easiest hub bearing removal ever, because as soon as I got that 3rd bolt out of there, this hub dropped down and it's loose. It will actually just come out, which is awesome. Usually you got to beat on these things, pry on them, and sometimes you got to heat the knuckle up, but that is it. That's our prize. It's the hub bearing. That there is the top where the speed sensor goes in, and I don't know, that was easy. I got pullers and all kinds of stuff behind me. I was ready to show you. The inside of this I'm going to clean. I'm going to get some Wow, okay. I'm gonna get some stuff. I'm gonna clean this up. It's gonna be awesome. Shit. Crocus cloth. That's what I'm gonna use. Jesus. Um, or some emery paper, or even just a little bit of sandpaper, but just get the roughness off of this. Hose it off with brake cleaner really well. And then we're gonna put anti-seize on it to prevent the new one from ever rusting in there. I mean, there's none on this old one. This is from the factory. I know it's from the factory like this because there were still the clips on the brake rotor. So I guess we just got lucky. Advantage of living in Florida, right? So I'm gonna clean this up. We're gonna get some anti-seize on there, and then I will be back with the new bearing. Okay, so here we are. We have our new bearing sitting up under here, and we have our backing plate set back on here, so I remembered the correct way that it went. We have our 3 bolts here to hold this on, and what we're going to do is we're going to set this bearing up into the hole where it goes, which has been cleaned, and I've put some anti-seize around all the mating surfaces on the face and on the inside where it touches. This is recommended. It does help over time with rust and things like that, but only use a very little bit of it. If you get too sloppy with it, first of all, you're wasting it, and second of all, it can go flying out while you're driving and end up on your brake rotor and cause problems. So you only need a very little bit, just a very thin layer. What also works well is things like fluid film, you know, spray on things like that, but I don't have any right now. But that's where we're at. That's prepared, and the new bearing is prepared. When you get your new bearing, take your bolts, make sure that your bolts fit, which I've done, and they do. Double check the orientation of your shield here. This one came with a new speed sensor, so we'll get it on there, and then we'll work on getting this one out, following the wiring, unplugging it, and all that stuff. We'll transfer over this piece of loom if we can get it off of there. And yeah, that's where we're at. Now, when these bolts go in, I am going to put a bit of Loctite on them. This is red. That is recommended. But when I say a bit, I mean a drop or 2 per bolt. You don't have to put a lot. Guys, you know, slather the stuff on there and then you can never get the bolt back out. It does not take a lot of Loctite to do its job. You can see these bolts did not have any on there before, but they're going to get some now to be safe. So that is where we're at. I'm going to set that up there, get a couple drops of Loctite on each of these bolts, and get it tightened down, and then I will be back. Okay, we have our new hub on there. It's all torqued down. It spins nice and smooth, and it's quiet. And we have ran our, wow, it's dark over here, you can't really see, but we ran our wire for our speed sensor back behind the plate, and it comes out over here. Our old one is clipped in over here with a Christmas tree fastener that has a clip on it. The new one comes with a new clip with Christmas tree fastener. So what we're going to do is we're going to pry that out and stick the new one in there. We don't have to reuse the old one, which is nice. And you know, for 150 bucks for this thing, I'm glad they did that. So that'll, sorry, I'm not even looking at it. That goes in there like that. And of course, I'm only one-handed. For the shakiness. And this clips in here on the brake line once the brake line is in position, and then it plugs in. This is the driver's side. It plugs in on the inside of this fender. That's the connector for it. And this connector does have, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can sort of see it. A little ridiculous little red tab that you have to push back before you can unplug the connector. Yeah. Oh, and look. Up here where it also clips in before it goes in the connector, comes with a new one of those too. So I'll pry that out of there. We'll get it plugged in and we'll get it connected. And after that, we're going to put some anti-seize on the face of this so the rotor doesn't rust to it like it did the first time. And then we're going to put our rotor back on. And yeah, then I'll be back with you.